All right, what's going on, everybody? It's your good old boy JR coming to you live from Las Vegas, Nevada. As always, it is a pleasure to be talking to you guys on this beautiful Tuesday as we are gearing up for another edition of the Silver and Bro Show. I mean, I, I, I don't know how people reacted. I mean, I can speak for myself. I wasn't expecting to walk into Sunday and think I was only going to see 3 points, but that's what it was. We walked in, and that's how it goes sometimes. The Raiders losing a tough one, 3-0 against the Minnesota Vikings, have now put their season at 5-8, and we'll get into that. We'll get into obviously some of the bigger questions around Raider Nation of what's happening, and also everything involved of this Thursday night matchup against the Chargers. So let's just dive right into it. Like I mentioned, the Raiders lose a tough one at home, 3-0 to Minnesota, in a game that will live forever on the infamous side of you know just bad football, just so bad football. And I'm okay with it because I love defensive matchups like that. But that was just very tough to watch. It was very tough to see, that. I know fans, work hard for their money. And whether you're a fan of the Raiders or the Vikings, I can only imagine how hard that must have been to watch, to go into the stadium and only score in football game. That, that stuff is that's it. It is what I will around for the Raiders at this point. At that time, Hunter Renfro with the fumbling issues, and that's just been a I I I truly believe it's not even the worst of it yet. That to me, I think that's the only positive. We didn't lose 6-0. Um, just bad all around. Um, you know, I think the only thing positive was Tyree Wilson looked like a good football player. Lining up, lining up on the inside at defensive tackle, but that's about it. I got nothing more. I mean, yeah, the defense played their hearts out. The defense played their hearts out where you only give up 3 points, and you look at the offense and you're like, man, I'm going to tell you, I don't know how it's going to look. I don't know how you, as a defensive player, if you were on the Raiders on Sunday, could go walk into the locker room and you see Devontae Adams pissed. You see the offense pissed. I hope you're pissed because of your performance, not because you didn't win. I hope you're pissed about the performance, because if you're pissed about why they didn't win, then I'm going to be honest with you. It's on site, homie. It is on site, because that was pathetic uh, to any degree. Everybody on that offense, pathetic. It- and I've seen some pretty pathetic offensive plays recently. This one was on top. This one had to be worse than when we got beat out by the Rams 52-3. I can't remember. This is worse than the bed and breakfast offense when Art Shell came out of retirement. This is bad. This was embarrassing to the fullest. Now the only thing I can say is, luckily for me, I already paid for this ticket, because I'm a season ticket holder, and I already paid for this, so I didn't have to spend a crap ton of money. But I cannot imagine somebody spending 250, 300, 400, $500 on this game to watch that. You have got to be joking. I got nothing else to say other than that was just flat out embarrassing. That to me was the final nail in the coffin of AP getting any chance at head coaching. That was the nail in the coffin. Like, you had a bye week. You could have came out swinging. AP, I'm happy you're here. It's cool and everything. It's just whatever that was. And, again, you can only hype up the players so much. Antonio Pierce can only hype up the players so much. But eventually, push has to come to shove, and eventually, it just has to be. It's just not working. And listen. We weren't our hopes at that point when Josh McDaniel got fired. There was no hope. Like, there was no high hopes. It was just finish out the year and make sure the boys are in good capacity mentally because of what they've had to endure for the last year and some change. And that was terrible. That's terrible. I got nothing. I've always been told if you got nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. But this has to be, this has to be the biggest joke I've ever seen on Sunday when it comes to that offense. That was such a joke. It was so bad. I was I was talking to fans and going, man, if it ends up 0-0, I think the refs should just call it and just be like, none of you dudes deserve to play overtime. None of you. As a matter of fact, don't even put the one on the T. Just take another loss. Just put an L. Like, that was embarrassing to the highest degree. I have seen this team, and mind you, I've seen this team get quarterbacked and led by Jamarcus Russell. That was bad. I have seen this team get quarterbacked by Matt Flynn, Terrell Pryor. That was rough. That Just thinking about it makes me want to throw up even now as I'm doing this show. It just makes me want to throw up. I have nothing more to say to this about this game other than kudos to the defense. And this is where it gets interesting because our prayers kind of were answered last night on Monday Night Football when the Giants and the Titans ended up winning, which took us to 8-6, I believe, if I remember correctly. I think it was 8-6, and that was a godsend. That was a godsend. And leave it to the Raiders to screw it up and watch them win and watch them miraculously become an offensive juggernaut. These last four, it's when we want them to win, they can. When we want them to lose, they can't lose properly. That's the problem with this team. They're too good to, they're shitty enough to not be good, and they're too good to not suck enough. And that's the issue. That's the issue I have with this team. Don't and here's the thing. Wherever you stand when it comes to draft positioning and all that stuff, my issue is not even draft positioning. It's more of player health. If I'm the defensive staff, I look at Max Crosby and I say, You're done, dude. You're done. You have nothing to play for. You are the best defensive player on this team. Hell, you might even be the best overall player on this team. And yes, that is including Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, Colton Miller, AJ Cole, Daniel Carlson. Yes, Max Crosby might be our best player on this team. And I say, for the benefit of health, shut him down. Let him. He deserves to rest. He deserves to have an off season. Everybody else better get the fuck to work. The second the game's over, they better get to work. Max, go enjoy time with your family. It is embarrassing to see. It was tough to see our defense have a performance of a lifetime with all those sacks. And we couldn't score 1 point at home. Not 1 point. 1 point. We couldn't get a safety. We couldn't get a field goal. We couldn't get a touchdown. We couldn't get nothing. We couldn't get a singular point in this game at home. The way I see it, I think for me right now, I'd rather shut down players. If Colton can go, that's fine. I'd rather save him for next year. If Max can go, I'd rather save him for next year. If Jacobs can't go, I'd rather save him. See if we can even re-sign him. Yeah, I'm good. The one key thing is right now, what is it with Devontae? And I think this is where Raider Nation right now is kind of like at a divide. What's new? We're always going to be in a divide until this team starts winning. Half of Raider Nation says you got to go. Half of Raider Nation says it is imperative for him to stay to develop whoever is next and everything. And I can tell you this much. The look on his face when that game ended 3-0, when he walked out of that stadium, I have only seen that look in a defeated man's face once. And nothing good ever came out of that again. Nothing. I'm sorry. It's embarrassing. It sucks. I don't know what his plans are because of how everything is. But only one thing's for certain. Only Devontae knows what Devontae wants. All these reports of he's going to leave, he's going to stay. Only one thing's for certain. Devontae's going to want what Devontae wants. Me personally, and like I said, it's not that I'm either or. I'm not for him leaving, and I'm not against him leaving. However, if I'm Devontae, and I'm just speaking for myself for another person. I know that sounds weird. I would have a sit down with the brass, Mark Davis, Sandra Douglas, whoever the next general manager is, and be like, so straight up, we're going to be in a rebuild phase. Because I don't know if Raider Nation is ready for this. We are going to be in a rebuild stage again. McDaniels and Ziegler screwed the pooch, to a better term. We are in a rebuild phase again. And I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't know what's going to happen. I can tell you one thing. That's that's tough. God, that is tough because it's just it sucks to see that. You want these guys to do good. You want these guys to perform, but it's another rebuild. And if I'm Devontae, I look at him and I think that's the first question you got to ask is, Devontae, if you're with it, because it is going to be a rebuild. And I know he wants a ring. When he came here, he wanted a ring, but he had to know it wasn't going to be easy. Now it's only going to get tougher. And I don't know how many more years of football you really got. So I think Devontae has to make that decision. It's, do I sacrifice my my fandom for playing for this team and moving on, or what's the next step? And that's where everything comes into play. I think that's where everything comes into play. On You have to talk to Devontae about this. There is no way around it. At least he deserves that discussion. What he wants to do next year, what he wants to do, you have to talk to it. There's no way around it. Everybody else is probably going to stay put. I know we got free agents and everything, but for the ones that do have the other contracts, multi-year contracts, they will stay. It's just I got nothing. Oh, so it sucks, but there's really no recapping this game because Minnesota just made the better play. That's really what it is. Yeah, we can go back to the incompletion by Trey Tucker. Was it an incompletion? Who cares? They know that this team should know better to never leave it up to the refs because majority of the time you're going to get fucked. Not screwed, fucked. You're going to get fucked. Was it an interception at the end? It looked like it bobbled to me, but if you leave it up to the refs, you're going to get fucked. So, and listen, I like Aiden. I really do. But he has shown that, yes, he can play in the NFL. No, he is not a franchise quarterback. He's just a quarterback that you would want on your roster and to kind of carry your season if it's down in the dumps. Exactly like we are right now. So, should do I think that they should have made a switch at quarterback? No, because I think there's a bigger plan with that. I think it would have been really messed up if Jimmy G went in. He won the game, and they benched him again for the Thursday night game against the Chargers. So it's I don't know. I mean, Antonio Pierce said that he's going to look at everything, so we'll see. I mean, we'll see what it looks like. But I think I'd be damned if Antonio Pierce goes with Jimmy G this Thursday because then why didn't you put him in Sunday? Like that's what I'm saying. I think AP is getting good experience and he's going to learn from this. I just don't think he's ready to be a head coach yet. Now, is he a motivator? Sure. For a linebacking room? Sure. For defensive players? Sure. He's not ready to lead 53 men. That's the difference. He can be a motivator for 53 guys to keep their spirits up, but it's very different to be a motivator and it's very different to be a leader. So, it is what it is. But yeah, kudos to Minnesota for winning and good luck to them for the rest of the year. This week, we got the Chargers coming up. As we all know, Justin Herbert is done for the year. After his finger injury, he is done for the year. But honestly, I don't think it even matters. And truly, this is what it's going to come down to. What happened on Monday Night Football was a godsend by the NFL gods. It's always going to be just win, baby. And you don't play to lose, you play to win. But and I think this is where it's going to hurt a lot of Raider fans because I know I would want them to win. Sure, I always want these guys to win. But when we're talking about a franchise altering pick, and I know what people are going to say, we always fuck up the first rounds anyway. We're talking about a franchise altering pick that we can bring in. Could it potentially be a quarterback? Maybe. Could it be an offensive lineman? Could it be a defensive lineman? Could it be if I don't know, maybe some luck has it and I know it's a long shot, but I mean we've seen weirder drafts before. Maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. falls to the sixth. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I don't know. But I will say this. This is going to be very telling on Antonio Pierce. because you had a bye week, you came out and you zippo. Now you got 4 days. You got 4 days to get ready for a divisional matchup. If Sunday was the nail in the coffin, and if he loses this Sunday, it's the what's going to happen is going to be his burial ground on where his hopes of becoming a head coach die. You could put the dirt on the coffin at that point. It's over. He's just there to keep everybody level headed. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to think. I really don't know what else to say other than the Vikings game. But when it comes to the Chargers, they're down a quarterback, but we still have to play this tough defense somewhat. Khalil Mack is probably going to want to feast again after the first go round. Our offensive line is probably going to be shorthanded again without Colton Miller not playing. I don't know about Andre James not playing, and that it was very different to see Dylan Farham play at center, but he did as best as he could on short notice. So it's not so much that, man, can we win? It's, man, can we even leave the field with healthy guys? That's my thing. Can we even? Because remember, after this, so we're not going to have anything until Christmas. Like this is it. It's this game on Thursday, and then the next game will be on Christmas. So uh, I I don't know. I don't know what to think. So it is what it is. Um, I think the only thing I would like to see, and I can't even give you rundowns of what's going to happen because I don't even know who's going to be available to play on both teams, the Chargers and obviously Herbert's out. We don't know about the Raiders injury report. I mean, they had a walkthrough, but the walkthrough is different than a practice. So I uh I I I hate to say it, but may the best team win. And I'm sorry for a crappy video today, but it's just it is a short week, and I got nothing. I got nothing. All I got is more questions than answers. It's what do we do with Devontae? What do we do with anybody? Really? I mean, that's really what it's going to come down to is what do we do with anything really? Got people are banged up. The team's going downwards. I think at this point you just have to ask yourself: is winning another game worth it? For Max is playing another game worth it? You're doing more harm if here Raider Nation is going to say something for not. They're they're more than Max, but I just don't see where I, I don't know where this team goes. I just know one thing is you know I don't know if they can't see it. dealing with this. As fans, we've been dealing with this for 20 plus years. And Mark Davis is going to have to answer the call. He's going to have to answer that call. So I don't know where to go from here as a Raider fan. I guess the only thing we can hope for now is that one day, whoever the next general manager is, he has at least half a brain than the previous three I've had. And he just makes a selection that actually justifies the pick. Now, I'm not saying that Tyree Wilson was a bad pick. I'm just saying it's a bad pick in retrospect when you have Jalen Carter sitting there for you. But you didn't want to take him because of character issues. One man, I can't believe, one man that did something horrible that should never be forgotten is going to justify how we draft for the rest of our reminder time in Vegas. To me, that's stupid. If you're scared to draft players like that, you don't be a general manager. Plain and simple. Don't do it. So I'm good. But I think that's the thing we're all waiting for is for Mark Davis to answer the call to us fans and be like, well, you gave us Josh McDaniels and it blew up in our face. You try to create the Patriot way, which was Tom Brady way. So you tell me. So that's what I'm going to be most looking forward to is I want to see if Mark Davis, after being an owner for almost 10 plus years, if he's finally smartened up. So we'll see. We'll see. But that'll do it for today's show, guys. Again, very short video because there's nothing to talk about that Minnesota game. Nothing. Other than Tyree Wilson had a good game. Max Crosby got his 50th sack. The defense played great, but no offense. Nothing on his leg for after what he did on Sunday. So there it is. Other than that, I'll be back tomorrow with Brandon to go over the NFL Pick'em shows. We're going to be discussing on who we think is going to win for each game starting on Thursday Night Football with the Chargers and the Raiders to kick us off for this week, which is week 15 now. So, we're getting closer to the end. So it's only a matter of time before, season's over and we get to start looking for the off season. So until then, everybody, have a wonderful night. Please take care of yourselves, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful night.